approaching zone, welcome to this memorial service honoring a true legend of the Army Band, Lieutenant Colonel retired Gil Mitchell. It is with a heavy heart that we say goodbye to a man who means so much to this organization. Of the thousands of men and women who have been members of this storied unit, few have left such a lasting impression as Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell has. Certainly, all of us up here in the United States Army Herald Trumpets owe a special thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell, for it was he and Sergeant Major retired Bram Smith who formed the Herald Trumpets back in 1959 to welcome Queen Elizabeth II for the opening ceremonies of the St. Lawrence Seaway. And so we will honor this great man the best way we know how, to sound the trumpets. Our first piece is titled Jubilant. Jubilant means a feeling of great happiness and triumph. And what better word to use when you're talking about the life of Gil Mitchell. He brought great happiness to so many people for so many years, and his life as a trumpeter, as a conductor, as a leader, as an enlisted soldier, and an Army officer, as a family member, and as a friend, was truly a triumph. Ladies and gentlemen, Jubilant Fanfare. In 2006, Kevin Eisensmith conducted an interview with Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell that would be included in the International Trumpet Guild Journal. In that interview, Colonel Mitchell talks about his life as a trumpet player and recounts several stories from his days in the Army Band, both as an enlisted trumpet player and as an officer. I will now read to you an excerpt from that interview. At the time of Richard Nixon's vice presidency, the official musical honors for a vice president were 4 ruffles and flourishes and an appropriate musical selection of choice. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell talked about this in his 2006 interview and said the following: "You wouldn't believe what some band directors considered inappropriate tune. So Bram Smith and I, along with some members of the United States Army Herald Trumpets, got together and said, something's got to be done for the vice president. Something with more dignity. So we did some research and we found out that Hail Columbia was a good, solid American tune with good history, and it used to be played unofficially for the president. It couldn't be longer than Hail to the Chief, but it should be longer than the General's March. So we condensed Hail Columbia to fit that pattern." The first time Vice President Nixon heard that version of Hail Columbia was at the official departure ceremony for French President Charles de Gaulle. Following that ceremony, the Vice President sent a letter to the Army Band, and in it said the following: "I want to tell you how very thrilled Mrs. Nixon and I were by the salute played on the Herald Trumpets yesterday. I hope the Herald Trumpets will now become a standard part of the ceremonies when we welcome distinguished visitors to this country. It adds tremendously in color, drama, and good music to such occasions." Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell recounted the French president's arrival and departure ceremonies by saying this: "When de Gaulle arrived, Eisenhower came out to the airport to meet him. When Eisenhower stepped out of his car, we played 4 ruffles and flourishes and Hail to the Chief, and he gave me the biggest grin as he went by. And for the first time in their history, the Marine Band stood silently while someone else played for the president. Boy, they did not take that lightly. When Gall departed, the vice presidents hosted the ceremony, and we played 4 ruffles and flourishes and our new arrangement of Hail Columbia. Pat Nixon, the vice president's wife, ran over to me and asked, "What was that wonderful music that you played for my husband?" I said, "I happen to have a condensed score in my pocket," and I gave it to Mrs. Nixon. 5 years later, in 1965, Vice President Hubert Humphrey signed an order making it the official honors for all sitting vice presidents. And now, please enjoy 4 ruffles and flourishes and the official version of the Vice Presidential Honors March, Hail Columbia. Our next piece, titled "A Salute to a New Beginning," was written for the inauguration of President Ronald Reagan and more recently figured prominently in the inauguration of President Donald Trump. We'd like to dedicate this piece to the memory of Lieutenant Colonel Gil Mitchell and thank him for giving us our beginning so many years ago. It is a great example of the evolution of the literature played by the Herald Trumpets. The fact that it was written by Sergeant Major retired Dennis Edelbrock, a former member of the Herald Trumpets, further speaks to the brotherhood, commitment to duty, patriotism, and musical excellence that Gil Mitchell helped establish. Ladies and gentlemen, a salute to a new beginning. Service and for allowing us to honor Gil Mitchell with the ensemble he helped create. To his friends and loved ones, please know that he will forever be one of us, and we'll never forget all that he has done, not just for the Herald Trumpets, but for the Army Band. Our final selection today is one of our newest fanfares and was written for the inauguration of President Donald Trump. It is an example of how the Herald Trumpets have evolved thanks to the initial involvement and leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Gil Mitchell. We leave you with Triumphant.